everybody, welcome back. This week we're going to be looking at fractions and specifically how to compare fractions, so deciding which one's bigger and which one's smaller. Now it's fairly simple to compare fractions with the same denominator, but today we're going to look at how to compare fractions with different denominators. So the first way we can do it is we can use diagrams. So this question up here is asking me to compare the two fractions, 3/4 and 1/3. So I'm going to use my diagrams that I have drawn here to help me to compare them. So over in this diagram over here, I'm going to just quickly shade in 3 of my quarters so I can see really clearly what 3/4 looks like. On the other diagram, I'm going to shade in 1/3 because that's the second fraction that we're comparing. Now I can see what 1/3 looks like. I can now look at my diagrams, and by looking at them really carefully, I can compare them and I can see that 3/4 is bigger than 1/3. So I'm going to put in my greater than symbol so that it shows 3/4 is greater than 1/3. Really simple. So when we've got diagrams, we can colour in the fraction and compare them just by looking at them. It's not always going to be that simple because most of the time we won't have diagrams to help us like we have here. So we're now going to look at how we would do this without a diagram. First of all, I'd look at my fractions. We've got the same fractions, 3/4 and 1/3. And I need to think about turning them into equivalent fractions with the same denominator so we can compare them. So I'm having a look at these fractions here and I'm going to look for a common multiple of 3 and 4. And I know a common multiple of 3 and 4 is 12. And I know that because I've done 3 times 4 equals 12. So I'm turning my fractions into 12ths. They're going to be equivalent fractions as 12ths. To turn my 3/4 into 12ths, I need to look at what has been done to this denominator to turn it into a 12. What has been done to that 4 to turn it into a 12? And I know that it's multiplied by 3. And now I have to do exactly the same to the numerator. So I do 3 times 3, which is 9. So here we have an equivalent fraction of 3/4. We've got 9/12. I'm going to do exactly the same with the 1/3. I'm going to think about what has been done to that denominator 3 to get to 12, and it's been times by 4. So now I'm going to do exactly the same to the numerator to turn it into that equivalent fraction. 1 times 4 is 4. There we go. So we've got 9/12 and 4/12. We know that 9/12 is bigger, so I'm going to put in my greater than symbol. 9/12 is greater than 4/12. And we can use this now to help us to compare the original fractions. So we put in the same symbol and we know that 3/4 is greater than 1/3. There we go, nice and simple. Let's have a go with a different one. Now we've got 5/8 and 7/12 and I need to compare them. Now we could do the same as before by doing 8 times 12 to find a common denominator, but that's going to give us quite a tricky number to work with. So another way of doing it is thinking about the lowest common multiple of 8 and 12. What number is in the 8 times table and the 12 times table? And if you're good at your times tables, you should know that that is 24. So I'm making our fractions into 24ths. Okay, I'm now going to think, how did I get from 8 to 24? What do I multiply by? It's 3. And do exactly the same to the numerator. 5 times 3 is 15. Over onto the 7/12. How do I get from 12 to 24? Well, I multiply it by 2. And now I have to do exactly the same to the numerator. 7 times 2 is 14. So I can see they're very close, but 15/24 is greater than 14/24. So I've put in my greater than symbol. I can now use this to compare the original fractions. 5/8 is greater than 7/12.